Chapter 5 of She and Allan. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Reading by Lars Rolander. She and Allan by H. Rider Haggard. Chapter 5. Inez. We had sighted the house from far away shortly after sunrise, and by midday we were there. As we approached I saw that it stood almost immediately beneath two great baobab trees. Babian trees we call them in South Africa, perhaps because monkeys eat their fruit. It was a thatched house with whitewashed walls and a stoep or veranda around it, apparently of the ordinary Dutch type. Moreover, beyond it at a little distance were other houses, or rather shanties, with wagon sheds, etc., and beyond and mixed up with these a number of native huts. Further on were considerable fields, green with springing corn. Also we saw herds of cattle grazing on the slopes. Evidently our white man was rich. Umslopogaas surveyed the place with a soldier's eye and said to me, "This must be a peaceful country, Macumazahn, where no attack is feared, since of defence I see none." "Yes," I answered, "why not, with the wilderness behind it and bush veld and a great river in front?" "Men can cross rivers and travel through bush veld," he answered and was silent. Up to this time we had seen no one, although it might have been presumed that a waggon trekking towards the house was a sufficiently unusual sight to have attracted attention. "Where can they be?" I asked. "Asleep, Baas, I think," said Hans, and as a matter of fact he was right. The whole population of the place was indulging in a noonday siesta. At last we came so near to the house that I halted the waggon and descended from the driving box in order to investigate. At this moment someone did appear, the sight of whom astonished me not a little, namely a very striking looking young woman. She was tall, handsome, with large dark eyes, good features, a rather pale complexion, and I think the saddest face that I ever saw. Evidently she had heard the noise of the waggon and had come out to see what caused it, for she had nothing on her head, which was covered with thick hair of a raven blackness. Catching sight of the great Umslopogaas with his gleaming axe and of his savage looking bodyguard, she uttered an exclamation and not unnaturally turned to fly. "It's all right," I sang out, emerging from behind the oxen, and in English, though before the words had left my lips I reflected that there was not the slightest reason to suppose that she would understand them. Probably she was Dutch or Portuguese, although by some instinct I had addressed her in English. To my surprise she answered me in the same tongue, spoken, it is true, with a peculiar accent which I could not place, as it was neither Scotch nor Irish. "Thank you," she said. "I, sir, was frightened. Your friends look—" here she stumbled for a word, then added, "terrocious." I laughed at this composite adjective and answered, "Well, so they are in a way, though they will not harm you or me. But, young lady, tell me, can we outspan here? Perhaps your husband—" "I have no husband. I have only a father, sir," and she sighed. "Well, then, could I speak to your father? My name is Allan Quatermain, and I am making a journey of exploration to find out about the country beyond, you know." "Yes, I will go to wake him. He is asleep. Everyone sleeps here at midday, except me," she said with another sigh. "Why do you not follow their example?" I asked jocosely, for this young woman puzzled me and I wanted to find out about her. "Because I sleep little, sir, who thinks too much. There will be plenty of time to sleep soon for all of us, will there not?" I stared at her and inquired her name, because I did not know what else to say.
"My name is Inez Robertson," she answered. "I will go to wake my father. Meanwhile please unyoke your oxen. They can feed with the others. They look as though they wanted rest, poor things." Then she turned and went into the house. Inez Robertson, I said to myself. That's a queer combination. English father and Portuguese mother, I suppose. But what can an Englishman be doing in a place like this? If it had been a trek Boer I should not have been surprised. Then I began to give directions about outspanning. We had just got the oxen out of the yokes when a big, raw boned, red bearded, blue eyed, roughly clad man about 50 years of age appeared from the house, yawning. I threw my eye over him as he advanced with a peculiar rolling gait, and formed certain conclusions. A drunkard who has once been a gentleman, I reflected to myself, for there was something peculiarly dissolute in his appearance. Also one who has had to do with the sea, a diagnosis which proved very accurate.
How do you do, Mr. Allan Quatermain, which I think my daughter said is your name, unless I dreamt it, for it is one that I seem to have heard before," he exclaimed with a broad Scotch accent which I do not attempt to reproduce. "What in the name of the blaze brings you here where no real white man has been for years?" "Well, I'm glad enough to see you anyway, for I'm sick of half-breed Portuguese and niggers and snuff and butter girls and gin and bad whisky. Leave your people to attend to those oxen and come in and have a drink."
"Thank you, Mr. Robertson."
"Captain Robertson," he interrupted. "Man, don't look astonished. You mightn't guess it, but I commanded a mail steamer once and should like to hear myself called rightly again before I die."
"I beg your pardon, Captain Robertson, but myself, I don't drink anything before sundown. However, if you have something to eat—"
"Oh yes, Inez, she's my daughter, will find you a bite. Those men of yours," and he looked doubtfully at Umslopogaas and his savage company, "will want food as well. I'll have a beast killed for them. They look as if they could eat it, horns and all. Where are my people? All asleep, I suppose, the lazy lubbers. Wait a bit, I'll wake them up."
Going to the house he snatched a great sjambok cut from hippopotamus hide from where it hung on a nail in the wall, and ran towards the group of huts which I have mentioned, roaring out the name Thomaso, also a string of oaths such as seamen use, mixed with others of a Portuguese variety. What happened there I could not see because boughs were in the way, but presently I heard blows and screams and caught sight of people, all dark skinned, flying from the huts. A little later a fat, half bred man, I should say from his curling hair that his mother was a negress and his father a Portuguese, appeared with some other nondescript fellows and began to give directions in competent fashion about our oxen, also as to the killing of a calf. He spoke in bastard Portuguese, which I could understand, and I heard him talk of Umslopogaas, to whom he pointed as "that nigger," after the fashion of such cross-bred people who choose to consider themselves white men. Also he made uncomplimentary remarks about Hans, who of course understood every word he said. Evidently Thomaso's temper had been ruffled by this sudden and violent disturbance of his nap. Just then our host appeared, puffing with his exertions, and declaring that he had stirred up the swine with a vengeance, in proof of which he pointed to the sjambok that was reddened with blood. "Captain Robertson," I said, "I wish to give you a hint to be passed on to Mr. Thomaso, if that is he. He spoke of the Zulu soldier there as a nigger, etc. Well, he is a chief of a high rank and rather a terrible fellow if roused. Therefore I recommend Mr. Thomaso not to let him understand that he is insulting him."
"Oh, that's the way of these snuff and butters, one whose grandmother once met a white man," replied the captain laughing, "but I'll tell him," and he did in Portuguese.